Hello, this is Suraj Anand, chemistry wala. I am Suraj Anand teaching. Today I am going to continue the topic pH of salt solution. Second one is the salt of a strong base and a weak acid gives basic or alkaline solution pH more than 7. For example, sodium carbonate Na2O3, Na2CO3 when dissolved in water. Hydrolysis to give sodium hydroxide and carbonic acid, that is Na2CO3, that is H2O, when it hydrolysis to give sodium hydroxide and H2O, so there is strong base and weak acid. Sodium hydroxide is a strong base and therefore it releases large number of OH minus ions in solution, whereas carbonic acid is a weak acid and it releases a small number of H plus ion, therefore the solution of sodium carbonate is basic or alkaline. Second one is the salt of weak acid and weak base may give slightly acidic or slightly basic or neutral solution. BA, salt of weak acid and weak bases, water, weak acid and weak base. This is all about the second and third. I am give you the explanation of third number. My dear student, this is all about the chemistry classes of Suraj Anand teaching and chemistry wala. You always prepare for your board examination. I am giving you the videos of my topic. The from November I will be online. Thus when a salt of weak acid and a weak base, thus of a salt of weak acid and weak base, salt of a weak acid and weak base, thus when a salt of weak acid and weak base, example, as for example ammonium carbonate, ammonium carbonate ammonium acetate is dissolved in water. Ammonium acetate is dissolved in water. The weak acid and a weak base are formed. The weak acid and a weak base formed. Weak acid and a weak base formed. Base are formed. So my dear students, this is all about going to be the weak acid and weak base are formed. Point number 3. So the pH of the solution will depend upon the relative, the pH of the solution, will depend upon the relative strength of acid and base form. So my dear student, thus when a salt of weak acid and weak base, example, so ammonium carbonate, ammonium acetate is dissolved in water, the weak acid and weak base are formed. The pH of the solution will depend upon the relative strength of acid and base formed. So first one, if an acid is stronger than base, the solution is, if an acid is stronger than base, the solution is slightly acidic. pH is less than 7. Second one, if an acid is weak, then base. If an acid is weak than base. If an acid is weak than base, the solution is slightly basic. The solution is slightly basic. pH is more than 7. And the third, the last one, if an acid and base formed are of, if an acid and base formed are of equal strength, formed are of equal strength, then what happens? The solution is neutral. The solution is neutral. pH is equal to 7. So this is all about the weak acid and weak base. This is all about the salt of weak acid and weak base gives slightly acidic or slightly basic or neutral solution. For example, a solution of ammonium acetate is neutral. For example, solution of ammonium acetate CS3COONH4 is neutral. The last one, fourth number, the fourth number is I am going to teach you the fourth number. First one is the salt of weak acid and weak base. Example, ammonium carbonate. And ammonium acid is dissolved in water. The weak acid and a weak base are formed. The weak acid and a weak base are formed. The weak acid and weak base are formed. The pH of the salt will depend upon the relative strength of acid and base formed. So my dear student, this is all about the pH of weak acid and weak base are formed. So my dear student, it is going to be quite clear. The pH of the salt of weak acid and weak base are slightly acidic or slightly basic when the pH of the solution is acidic or basic or neutral. So it is all about the acid, bases and salt, pH of salt solution. So my dear student, it is going to be quite clear. The acid, base and salt. So the last one, the fourth number. The last one is the salt of strong acid and strong base. The salt of strong acid base gives neutral solution. Neutral solution pH is equal to 7. So my dear student, salt of strong acid and strong base. Salt of strong and strong base. Salt of strong acid and strong base. Example, NaCl, KNO3, Na2SO4, etc. When dissolved in water, do not, when dissolved in water. Do not hydrolyze. Therefore, they do not disturb the pH of water is 7. They do not disturb the pH of water is 7. So the first one is the salt of weak acid. The salt of weak acid and weak base gives slightly acidic or slightly gives slightly acidic or slightly basic or neutral solution. Thus, when salts of weak acid and weak base, for example, ammonium carbonate, ammonium acetate is dissolved in water, weak acid and weak base are formed. The pH of salt will depend upon the relative strength of acid and base form. Relative strength. This is the main point. If an acid is stronger than base, the solution is slightly acidic, pH is less than 7. If an acid is weak than base, the solution is slightly basic, pH is more than 7. If an acid and base formed are of equal strength, the solution is neutral. Example, a solution of ammonium acetate CH3CONH4 is neutral. A salt of strong acid and strong base give neutral solution, pH is equal to 7. So the salts of strong acid and strong base, as for example NaCl, KNO3, NH4, etc., when dissolved in water, do not hydrolyze, therefore they do not disturb the pH of water 7. This is all about the pH of salt solution. pH of salt solution. After that we are going to read. After that we are going to read the common salt. After that we are going to read the common salt. What do you mean by the common salt? What is the need of common salt? The common salt, this is also called table salt, and this is NaCl. So my dear student, if in neutralization reaction an acid and a base, in neutralization reaction, an acid and a base, an acid and a base and a base react to produce salt and water. React to produce salt and water. For example, the neutralization reaction between NaOH and HCl, the neutralization reaction NaOH and HCl gives the salt NaCl, gives the salt NaCl and water H2O. The reaction will happen NaOH plus HCl, NaCl plus H2O. Okay. Thus a salt may be defined as, the definition of salt. A salt is a compound formed by the reaction of an acid A salt is a compound formed by an acid by the reaction of an acid by the reactions of an acid with a base with a base in which the hydrogen of the acid in which the hydrogen of an acid is replaced by the metal. Replaced by the metal. In polybasic acids, in polybasic acids, more than one hydrogen atom are present. More than one hydrogen atom is present. More than one hydrogen atom are present in molecules. Are present in molecules. So these hydrogen atoms can be replaced. These hydrogen atoms can be replaced partially or completely. Partially or completely. So two kinds of salts are possible. So two kinds of salts are possible. Which two kinds of salts are possible? First is H2SO4 plus NaOH. That one is NaHSO4 plus H2O. That is the sodium hydrogen sulfate and water. Sulfate and water. Here partial replacement of hydrogen atoms. Here partial replacement of hydrogen atoms from H2SO4 has resulted from H2SO4 has resulted in the formation of sodium hydrogen sulfate. In the formation of sodium hydrogen sulfate, that is NaHSO4, and that is H2SO4. So my dear student, in neutralization reaction, an acid and a base result of produce salt and water. The neutralization reaction between NaOH and HCl gives the salt NaCl and water H2O. NaCl plus H2O, NaCl plus NaOH plus HCl, NaCl plus H2O. Thus a salt may be defined as a salt is a compound formed by the reaction of an acid with a base in which the hydrogen of an acid is replaced by the metal. So in polybasic acids, more than one hydrogen atoms are present in molecule. These hydrogen atoms can be replaced partially or completely. So two kinds of salts are possible. H2SO4, NaOH, NaHSO4 plus H2O. Here partial replacement of hydrogen atoms from H2SO4 has resulted in the formation of hydrogen sulfate, sodium hydrogen sulfate. Second reaction, this is the first reaction, and after that the second reaction. The second reaction I am giving you about the salt, common salt, the table salt, H2SO4 plus NaOH, H2SO4 plus NaOH, H2SO4 plus 2NaOH, H2SO4 plus 2NaOH react to give Na2SO4 plus 2SO, Na2SO4 plus 2H2O, Na2SO4 plus 2H2O, sodium sulfate plus water, sulfate plus water. What does it give? What does it say? It says that here complete reduction of hydrogen atom, here complete replacement of hydrogen atoms. Here complete replacement of hydrogen atoms. Complete replacement of hydrogen atoms from H2SO4 has resulted in, from H2SO4 is resulted in, has resulted in the formation of sodium sulfate. In the formation of sodium sulfate. So the complete replacement, NaHO4 represent two kinds of salt, NaHSO4 and Na2SO4 represent two kinds of salt, and Na2SO4 represents two kinds of salt. So my dear student, the second reaction H2SO4 NaOH, Na2SO4 plus 2H2O, that is sodium sulfate and water. Here the complete replacement of hydrogen atoms from H2SO4 is resulted in the formation of sodium sulfate. NaHSO4 and Na2SO4 represent two kinds of salts. So this is all about the common salt also. And my dear student, in the next class we read the types of salt. In the next class, or you say, you can just take it, the types of salt. Types of salts. Types of salts. There are types of salt. The types of salts are normal salt, acid salt, basic salt, double salt. Normal salt. First is normal salt. Second is acid salt. Third is basic salt. And fourth one is double salt. So my dear student, normal salt, acid salt, basic salt and double salt. Normal salt, acid salt and double salt. Today I will discuss only the normal salt. The classes should be no longer. Today I am going to discuss you the normal salt. Normal salt. First one is normal salt. Normal salt. So a salt that does not contain any replaceable. A salt does not contain any replaceable hydrogen atoms or hydroxyl group. Replaceable hydrogen atoms, or hydroxyl group is called a normal salt. Hydroxyl group is called a normal salt. The examples is Na2SO4, CSO4, Na2SO4, CSO4, Na3PO4, sodium phosphate, PHOS, PHAT, phosphate, and K3PO4. Potassium phosphate, etc. Second one is acid salt. Acid salt. Tomorrow we will discuss about the acid salt. Tomorrow we will discuss the acid salt. So my dear student, or today I will give you the definition. When a polybasic acid is not completely, when a polybasic acid is not completely neutralized by base, neutralized by base, the salt produced will contain, the salt produced will contain replace the hydrogen atom, replace the hydrogen atoms, hence it may further take part in the reaction with the base, as an acid, such a salt is called an acid salt. Such salt is called an acid salt. So a salt does not contain any replaceable hydrogen or hydroxyl group is called a normal salt. Na2SO4, CSO4, Na3PO4 and K3PO4, they are the normal salt. And when a polybasic acid is not completely neutralized by base, the salt produced will replace the hydrogen atoms, hence it may further take part in the reaction with the base and the acid. With the base, the salt is called an acid salt. Examples are examples. I am giving you the examples. And so today I complete the normal salt and acid salt. So the examples. Write the examples. HCl4 plus NaOH. It gives you NHSO4 plus H2O. And NHSO4 plus NaOH. It gives you Na2SO4 plus H2O. A salt that contains replaceable hydrogen atom. A salt that contains replaceable hydrogen atoms is called an acid salt. So it is quite clear, a salt that contains replaceable hydrogen atom is called an acid salt. This is all about the normal salt and acid salt. Next topic is basic salt and double salt. Basic salt and double salt. What is basic salt and what is double salt? What is basic salt basic salt. Basic salt. When a polybasic base react with lesser amount of, when a polybasic acid, when a polybasic base, base reacts with, when a polybasic base reacts with lesser amount of acid, lesser amount of acid then is necessary for complete neutralization, then for necessary, then is necessary, then is necessary for complete neutralization reaction, the salt produced contain hydroxyl group also, OH group also such a salt is called a basic salt. Such a salt is called a basic salt. So my dear students, like PbOHCl, like PbOHCl, BiOH, OH hold to HNO3 contain the OH group are basic salt. The OH group are basic salt. Like PbOH hold 2 plus HCl, PbOH hold 2 plus HCl, it react to give PbOH OHCl plus H2. Next is the BiOH hold 2 plus HNO3. It gives you BiOH hold 2 NO3 plus H2. The last one is, so when a polybasic base react with lesser amount of acid, then is necessary for complete neutralization reaction. The salt produced contain hydroxyl group OH. Also such a salt is called basic salt, like PbOHCl, BiOH hold 2 HNO3 contain the OH group are basic salt. This reaction. The last one. The last one is double salt. Subham, think. In a double salt, there are two different negative ion or positive ion. In a double salt, there are two different negative ion. There are two different negative ions. There are two different negative ions and or positive ions. Okay. So for example, mineral dolomite. For example, mineral dolomite. Mineral dolomite, CaCO3, MgCO3. It means two salts are with one. Contains both Ca2 plus, and Mg2 plus Hence, it is a double salt. It is a double salt. Potash alum. Potash alum. UTASH. Potash alum. That is K2SO4. Al2SO4 whole 3 into 10H2O. 24H2O, sorry. Is also double salt. The reaction is K2SO4 K plus SO4 2 minus Al2SO4 whole 3. It also hydrolyzes 2Al plus Al 2 plus 3SO4 2 minus. So in a double salt there are two different negative ions and or positive ions. Mineral dolomite CaCO3 CaNMg2. It is a double salt. Potash alum K2SO4 24H2O is a double salt. K2SO4 Al2SO4 is the reaction. So my dear student, it is going to be quite clear that types of salt today I discuss the pH of salt solution. pH of salt solutions, first topic, and second topic is types of salt. Normal salt, acid salt, basic salt and double salt. So this is all about the today class. Please give subscribe, views and likes to my channel and give more and more subscribe. My target is 1 million subscriber on YouTube and I am giving you shorts also. So be ready for November crash course classes of 400 questions. Thank you for watching my video. This is all about the Suraj Anand chemistry wala and Suraj Anand teaching. Thank you.